I can taste you. I can taste you. Words. I can taste you. I can taste you. I can taste
I'm Katie McManus, business strategist and leadership coach, coming to you from my COVID den. I have been sick with COVID since Tuesday and locked in this tiny room. And so welcome to my bed. We're just going to get cozy today. I'm going a little nutty if you can't tell by my posts, but I'm a little lonely. So I wanted to come live with you guys because I miss you all, and welcome whoever's watching. Just so you know, I'm doing this through StreamYard. Sometimes the comments don't all come through. So if you comment something and I don't respond to it, it's not you, it's just the technology. And hi, Asher, welcome. But it's just the technology. So I try to make this as interactive as possible. If you have questions about the stories I'm going to tell, or you have stories yourself that relate, please put them in the chat. I love this to be interactive. Asher, thank you. I showered. You know, I always feel like showering helps. I'm also on like a lot of like Sudafed and Mucinex and all the things, which I'm sure you guys really want to know. And so I'm a little out of it. Let's just be real. But I'm here and I'm not dead. So that's great. Anyway, so let's dive in. These are my 10. Okay, so let me just preface this. I have a lot more stories. I had awful jobs, and I started working when I was 14. Okay, how old am I? I'm 34. So I've literally been working for 20 years, and I've had so many different jobs, usually stacking them like multiple at a time. So this is just the tip of the iceberg. And if you're curious about hearing more, then I'm more than happy to do another one with a different list. But here, for the sake of a title, these are my top 10 worst things that have happened to me working for someone else. Okay. So number one is when I worked for Equinox Fitness. Now, if you know anything about Equinox Fitness, it's a oh my God, my brain isn't working. I'm losing words. It's a fitness club that caters to wealthy people, essentially. So every month, and they have a very aggressive sales team. And I started my sales career on that sales team. And so we would be set a goal every single month of how many memberships we would need to sell to reach goal. And I remember it was February. One of my very good friends' 40th birthday parties was at the end of the month. And it was in Vegas, and they had gotten a room block and all the things. And like, it meant a lot to her that everyone go. And I was so excited about it. And February is a tough month because it's short, especially, you know, in the sales world, it's a short month. Our goal was absolutely ridiculous because we had just opened this club. And so our numbers were all way off, right? So like there were, high-end luxury exclusive. Thank you, Asher. You know what I'm talking about. And hi, Jensen. Welcome. Oh, from Cambridge. I'm on Cape Cod. Hello. You're just across the bay. Anyway, so our numbers were like way inflated because we had just opened. And when you open a new thing, like, of course, you get a ton of people who sign up. It had also just been January. So like everyone wanted their New Year's resolution gym membership. And so we had this inflated number, and I wasn't going to reach it. I was like, it was just too far. It was a bad month for me. I think I was also sick like twice. And they don't make any and there's no forgiveness for being sick, essentially, when you're on a sales team at Equinox. So anyway, came to the end of the month, and I was literally supposed to leave for the airport that evening. And my sales manager came in and insinuated that if I went to my good friend's 40th birthday, then I would not have a job to come home to. And so I was devastated. I was so sad. She was incredibly upset and hurt, and I don't blame her. But I had to cancel my trip, and I still didn't hit my numbers. I was able to help the team, but it was just the awful, worst way. The other thing about Equinox is the last 3 or 4 days of the month, they expect their sales team to be in at 9 a.m. and stay until 9 p.m. Okay, because they need it's this closeout culture where you have to like hit it hard, which sets you up the next month to be like hung over from working that hard for the first week. So you're not actually able to like build momentum. At least not me. It just burned me out. So anyway, so that was number one on the list. Number two, so I worked in the solar industry for about a year and a half. And let me tell you, it is one of the most sexist industries you will ever come across. So I remember, I'll never forget, I was doing some lead generation activities with a coworker who had just been hired. He'd been referred in by another coworker who I really liked and respected. And we're standing there, and I had just gotten back from a vacation to Hawaii with this guy I was dating, who was a doctor and all this stuff. And, this coworker was asking me about it and asking me about my love life, which I was not terribly willing to share a lot of my details, but like, for the sake of making conversation and having, a friend at work, told him about, this person I was dating. And he legit suggested that I should quit my job and go become an escort. And I think he thought it was a compliment. I think he thought he was complimenting my looks and complimenting a whole bunch of things. Katya, yeah, you can't be productive working that many hours. No, you cannot. I think that's with the Equinox bit. Yeah, absolutely not. But anyway, he got fired that day. And he also did some touching, which was completely inappropriate. But yeah, it's not, women don't like being told that they should basically become a prostitute. It's not very professional. And hello from Nottingham. Anytime I see Nottingham, I think of Robin Hood and the Sheriff of Nottingham. So I hope that, you don't have a similar character roaming the woods and causing trouble for people. Anyway, so that was number two. Now, number three. So remember, I started working when I was 14. Okay. My very first job was at like a very small family owned grocery store. My second job was at this touristy restaurant in Harwichport of, Cape Cod called Brack's Landing. And I'll never forget, I had gotten a job as a bus girl. I was also hostessing, and like occasionally I would help out in the kitchens by doing like some cold prep stuff. And I'll never forget one of the line cooks, 15 years old. This is a grown ass man in his 20s. Okay. So I'm 15 years old, and this line cook like starts grilling me about what my bra size was. And being 15 and like not knowing what's allowed and what's appropriate and all this stuff, I told him, but it was like the grossest moment. For the rest of my time there, whenever he was there, I refused to go into the storeroom alone, because I knew he would like follow me and ask me more questions. It was really creepy. We need to teach young women who are starting in the workforce about sexual harassment. It just has to happen, because I had no concept that wasn't allowed. Hi, Ronald. Thank you. I showered. That's one of the things that helps you feel a little bit better when you're sick. Let me just pop that up so people know who's commenting. Okay, so that was number three of the top 10 worst situations at work. Now, number four was kind of interesting. So again, on Cape Cod, one summer, I was a supervisor for room service. Okay. So, and I usually had the evening shift, which surprisingly was like a slow shift because a lot of people wanted to go out to dinner. The morning shift was the crazy one. I'm so happy I didn't have that. But one evening, this guy called in room service and ordered, and he sounded fine on the phone, like absolutely fine. Wasn't slurring his words. He seemed to be all with it. And he ordered, dinner. And so it took about a half hour for the food to get put together and like get it all trayed up. And then because it was a resort and like all the buildings were separate, my servers had to load things into a golf cart and like drive it to his building and, go to his room. And they get there, and I get a radio from them saying he's not answering the door. I'm like, well, that's weird because he said he was going to be in, and, he ordered this. So I call the room and there's no answer. And I call it again and again, there's no answer. And they're knocking and they're not getting an answer. And I said, okay, well, maybe he popped out to the pool and or is going for a walk and he wants to come back to the food. And there's no do not disturb sign on the door. Just want to be clear here. So I'm like, well, why don't you just go in and leave the tray on his desk and then come back? And so my server, because it was kind of a busy night and we had other deliveries to make. So the server goes in and he immediately radios me and he's like, I think this guy is dead. He's not responsive. He's not moving. He's just passed out across the bed. And so we had to call an ambulance. They came. This guy somehow in the 30 minutes that he ordered got so blackout drunk that he passed out to the point that he gave himself alcohol poisoning. No lie. And he wasn't functional. I think they had to take him to the emergency room actually to pump his stomach. Anyway, that was terrifying and not something I ever want to repeat in my life. So that was number 4. Okay, so when I was in college, I also spent a couple months working at a private airport. So if you've ever been to Cape Cod, there's Barnstable Airport, which has a lot of small planes coming through. Adjacent to that, there's Rectrix, which is a private hangar for people who are fancy and charter their jets and want to come to the Cape. And so there are a lot of small companies that operated chartered jets that would come through there. And let me tell you something. I never, ever, after working this job, and I quit midsummer. It was so bad. I never, ever want to work in travel in that way because, this is probably not true for all pilots, but the pilots that I had to deal with said the most inappropriate things to me. I was literally sitting at my desk, processing their bill and, getting their invoice up so that they could pay it for fuel and for, taxing and all that stuff. And I had this little vase on my desk and it had just one single flower in it. And I'll never forget, this pilot walked right up to me and pointed to the vase and said, "Hey, can I deflower you?" And winked. Ugh, it was so gross. It was so disgusting. I reported it to my manager. They did nothing. And I very quickly after that, put in my 2 weeks notice and they let me just leave. It was the worst thing in the world. Andreas, I think. Let me know if I'm pronouncing it correctly. You're German. Way to go. I love the German people. You guys are great. Welcome to the live. And of course, this past story, all these things happened before Me Too, right? So speaking out was not okay. Or at least there wasn't a comfort level that I had. And again, I was young. I'd never gotten trained on what sexual harassment was. So we need to teach our young women and our young people, and grown-ass adults, specifically men. Anyway, different story. So that was number 5. Okay, so number 6 of the top 10 worst moments that I've had at work. So I was working for this video production company called Seasons Productions. They have since gone out of business, not surprisingly. Anyway, it was my very, very first sales job. Literally, I was cold calling a whole ton of businesses asking if they wanted video services for commercials and whatnot. Anyway, they were having a hard time getting clients because they didn't have a niche, right? So they were trying to do 3 separate niches and it just wasn't going well. And I'll never forget, the owner of the company took us all to lunch, which was bizarre because we knew that the purse strings were tight. We knew that there wasn't a whole lot of money coming in. So she takes us to lunch and those booths at tables. So there was this booth, but it was extra long. So you could fit 4 people on one side and 4 people on the other. I got in first. And so I went all the way in. So I'm cornered at this table. My life had just recently fallen apart. I was broke as a joke. I was basically living off credit cards. And I had patched together full-time work with 3 to 5 different part-time jobs. Anyway, in this lunch, she starts it off by telling us that they were running out of money. So they were going to cut our hours and then they were going to cut our pay. But she still needed us to work the same amount, if not more time on the business. And she later told me that she regretted sitting at that table because my face just went white. and it looked like I was going to throw up, which I felt in that moment. Just, yeah, one of the worst moments in working for someone. Now, this same company, um, I forget if it was before or after this. This same company, I was suffering from migraines at the time. And I think it had to do with like a whole bunch of stuff that was going on in my life. But I was suffering from migraines, and my manager, who was also a friend that I'm no longer friends with, she, so I called in sick to work because I had this migraine, and she didn't believe me. She actually texted me and said, listen, if you want to keep this job, which by the way, like I could barely afford my life. I wasn't affording my life. Like this job was helping me eat. If you want to keep your job, you have to come in. I don't believe you. I need to see how sick you are. And I went in and I didn't realize that two other of our employees had also called in sick for very valid reasons. It was just an anomaly that we'd all gotten ill at the same time. And she had called us all in saying that, we would be fired if we didn't come in. And we all came in, we all looked like hell. And she basically said, if you ever call in sick again, you're fired. And that was on my way out. I was pretty done. I was pretty done with that. So that was 7. Okay. So when I worked for Solar City, which has been gobbled up by Tesla, and really it was always a part of Tesla. It was always part of the Elon Musk world. They did this super sketchy thing when they were prepping to be sold to Tesla by Elon Musk. Where they overhired a ton of people. So there just weren't enough leads to go around for the sales team. So they hired all these salespeople so that they could lay them off and show that like the company wasn't going well, to devalue it so Tesla could come in and buy it for cheap. Is super obvious internally. I don't know if you guys noticed this externally. But anyway, I'll never forget being in this sales meeting with the sales director, Jolie. She spoke a big game about leadership, spoke a huge game about leadership. And she at one point held up a stack of resumes because she wasn't happy with where we were in our progress in the month. She held up a stack of resumes and said, hey, listen, if you guys want to keep your job, then you have to do better, because here's all the people who want to take your job. They've been applying. They all have tons of experience, and you're 100% replaceable. You want to motivate a team? Don't do that. Don't do that. That's not good leadership. So that was number 8 in my list of the top 10 worst moments working for other people. Now, I don't know if you guys I have people here from all over the world. In the United States, higher education is very expensive. And so one of the financial aid options in a lot of universities is work study. So basically you're given a budget of say $900 per semester, and you can actually work for it. So you do some kind of small job for the university and you get paid minimum wage out of that budget. And it kind of helps you with your expenses throughout the school year. So I got a work study job with a drama teacher at Bridgewater State College, where I was going. And I was her personal assistant. I was her, her PA. And, I had various responsibilities like photocopying stuff, filtering emails, organizing her script library, which is a fucking mess. And I'll never forget, I made friends with a lot of her students because they would drop by to ask for stuff, and I'd, be the go-to person to get them their scripts and stuff. And I'll never forget, I went to get Frosties with them at one point, and they were like, so when are we going to get back our essays and our tests? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, well, Suzanne told us that she's waiting on you to grade them. Which, by the way, guys, I was a freshman in college, and also that's illegal within the college for a student to have any ownership over grades. I was already breaking the rules because she had me inputting grades and doing the math in her grade book, which I should not have been able to touch because I was friends with these people. I could have easily gone in and changed the grade and given them a better grade, or, gone the other way. And that was my very first time quitting with no notice. I sent her an email saying, Suzanne, life is too short. I quit. And then forwarded all the emails to the head of the department that she sent me afterwards that were threatening me. Super fun. So that's number 9. And finally, number 10, simple one. I worked at this 2 Michelin star restaurant in San Francisco called Qua. They had hired this manager who was off his rocker. I don't even remember his name. I've blocked it. I only worked there for like 2 months when I first became a sommelier. And when he would get angry, he would throw stuff at the staff. He was big on the temper tantrums. And yeah, I quit. Didn't want to continue working there. So that is my horror stories. These are all the reasons that I work for myself, because I've had some really awful jobs in my life, as you can tell. And I just don't want to put myself through that ever again. And I'm happy to tell more stories or extrapolate on the ones that I have already told. But here's what I want from you is I want to hear your bad job stories. So if you're here, or if you're going to be coming back to this, I want you to think about like, what was the worst thing that ever happened to you at work? And I want you to either share it in the comments or DM it to me, because I'm super curious. Anyway, I'm starting to feel super loopy. This is day 4 of COVID for me. And I think I need to go lie down. And how handy that I'm already in bed. I just need to close my computer and lay down. Anyway, thank you, Gabriel. Hi. Oh wait, hold on. So Gabriel and Andreas and Ronald and Katya and Asher and Jensen, thank you for joining. Oh, and Katya. Okay, so controversial. Robin Hood was not actually from Nottingham, apparently. Yorkshire have claimed him with evidence, but I've never seen it. Only the nasty sheriff of Nottingham was definitely from here. So Robin Hood gets associated with it. We still have a sheriff. Her name is Nicola Heaton. I hope Nicola Heaton is super nice and doesn't, go around arresting people for no reason. And I don't know, plot to, I don't know. I forgot. I'm not that up to date on Robin Hood, I guess. Ronald, hard to believe you aren't feeling great. Well, I mean, it's all a spectrum, Ronald. Also, you didn't see me before I took all the medication that I took. So this is just me boosted up by chemicals. Anyway, thank you for joining, guys. I hope to be feeling better and back to my normal live schedule next week. Have a happy Friday. And again, I want to hear your bad job stories. Oh, she's ceremonial only now. Okay, got it. So she can't cause any trouble. That's good. Anyway, I want to hear your bad job stories. So pop them in the comments or shoot me a DM. I'd love to hear them. Anyway, have a great weekend, and I will talk to you all soon. Mwah.